I'll never forget his first pitch deck was very mission driven. And I'm like, dude, you're a real estate developer. Would you buy this? And he's like, oh no. I'm like, okay. Right. Because there's that growing yearning in the market of needs that are being unmet or underfulfilled.
Sure.
That's always where we need to tune in. Right. And I'm like, what do real estate developers care about? And he said, well, they're always looking for, differentiation and retention.
Welcome to the show, Jeffrey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
You are calling in from LA. So we're doing an East Coast, West Coast interview today here on the Buzzworthy Consultant Podcast. Welcome to everybody who has been listening in here. Jeffrey is kind of a guru. Jeffrey knows how to get in your mind and find out what your gut's telling you. And so today we're going to be talking about, like, you've established your business, maybe you even got your perfect product market fit. So you've got clients coming in and there's this gut feeling that's just eating at you like you should be doing something else. And you're, of course, an entrepreneur. So you've got shiny object syndrome. And there's this thing I could be doing and this thing I could be doing. And but do I chase it or do I drown it out? Do I use it in parallel with what I'm doing? And Jeff's secret power is helping entrepreneurs take that gut feeling and systematically bring it up to surface and figure out what actually is happening and where you might be needing to pivot your business. So thank you so much for taking time today, Jeffrey. I want to know, how did you find out that you had this superpower in the first place?
Through clients showing up and seeing this show up time and time and time again, that there are these established people in a variety of marketplaces who over time start to, often subconsciously, get attuned to what's missing in the market.
Okay.
Right? Get attuned to an emerging yearning or hunger in the market that's going unmet.
Okay.
That they're, in my language, they're on earth to serve. That's actually their purpose. And so, we all start throwing up our shingle, doing our work in whatever way it makes sense in that industry, and we replicate other people's models. Right. And
that's true. Yeah.
Right. And we as well, we should.
And 9 times out of 10, we're apprenticing under somebody else's frameworks anyway.
When I started, I had an actual, I was someone's apprentice, like in a true apprenticeship model. He took me under his belt. I was the first person who ever trained his work around the world. We started companies in a couple different places. So I know that model and I'm so grateful for it. But then there's these places where you start to connect new dots, right? You start to see, oh, well, what if we put this and this other thing together? What emerges then? And that's always where innovation comes from, right? It's from seeing what other people aren't seeing, that your life and your curiosity and whatever you've trained in you've walked far enough down multiple paths to see where they converge. Right. Yeah. And that's always the spark of innovation.
Yes.
And, the world is moving faster than ever right now.
Exponentially.
Right. And so there's much of what we see in most markets are echoes of the past. It's how things have been done. But in every echo of the past marketplace, there is an emerging sector of that market that is being underserved by what currently exists.
100%.
Right. And at least the people that come to me, they're not always super conscious about what that sliver of that market that is growing over here is. What they're usually start with is, I don't know why, but I keep getting this intuitive gut sense that I'm supposed to be doing X, or there's a way I'm meant to innovate in this way. Right. And so, and it's usually a little divorced from the yearning in the market. At first, it just feels like this, I don't know why this is coming to me. But in my experience, there is a 1-to-1 ratio. There's 100% correlation between the growing yearning in the market and a
Mhm.
growing calling that a leader might be experiencing.
Gotcha.
So I'll give you a quick example. One of my clients is a real estate developer, very
Right.
successful, been at it for a while,
Mhm.
was one of the pioneers in the co-housing movement. So he knows risk taking, he knows about innovation in marketplaces. But he came to me and he said, I keep getting this intuitive sense that I'm meant to develop a new form of real estate that helps people self actualize. And he's like, I know that sounds bananas. I have no idea what it means, but it won't leave me alone. Right.
Okay.
And so I believe that when people have that experience, there is something in the zeitgeist
Okay.
that's visiting them, right? That
Mm.
they're attuned to, whether
Gotcha.
they realize it or not.
Right.
And so, and whenever you have that sense of a calling, there's always an energy to it, right? There's an aliveness to it, or a life force, I call it.
Sure.
And everything we need to innovate what that thing is meant to be is actually in that energy. It's in that life force.
Mhm.
And so a lot of my work at the beginning is helping people tap into that energy, tune into it, and go, ask a variety of questions like, hey, what do you sense about this? What do you sense about that? And for
Mhm.
him, what we eventually developed is a new brand, a new business called Frequency. And it's using everything known currently about how to use the built environment to help people's nervous system relax, to help people kind of drop in and come home to themselves.
Hmm.
So that's biophilia, biomimicry, plants in
Mm.
spaces.
Mhm.
We worked with a
Like the
professor at the
feng
University of
shui of the room and
it's
all that good
there
stuff?
is an energy piece to it, but
Mhm.
for his product, it's all rooted in either a wisdom tradition or in science, and most of it is peer-reviewed science.
Gotcha.
So even with wisdom tradition stuff, like you may have heard of sacred geometry. Well,
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
found a professor at the University of Oregon who studied these geometrical shapes and the impact on the nervous system,
Mm.
right? Then we used that information to work with a textile company to create carpets that are in the hallways of these apartment buildings. So the moment you enter and are walking down the hallway to your apartment, this system is working on your biology without you
Hmm.
even being consciously aware of it, right?
Ooh, sneaky.
So yeah, so there's all that product development part of it, and
Mhm.
then there's the product market fit part.
Mhm.
And for him, I'll never forget his first pitch deck was very mission driven, and I'm like, "Dude, you're a real estate developer. Would you buy this?" And he's like, "Well, no." I'm like, "Okay, right." Because there's that growing yearning in the market of needs that are being unmet or underfulfilled.
Sure.
That's always where we need to tune in, right? And I'm like, what do real estate developers care about? And he said, well, they're always looking for, differentiation and
Mhm.
retention. I said, great. We're solving those two problems in a whole new way,
Right.
right? Wellness is a multi-billion dollar industry that keeps growing.
Right.
I go to a fancy gym here in LA that I spend way too much to go to that has some of these elements in it, right?
Sure,
Or
sure.
you can go to a luxury resort that might have some of these elements.
Uh-huh.
But where can you live in a building that's custom built to optimize you as a human?
That's amazing.
Where's that? Right?
Yeah.
And especially with upwardly mobile young professionals that are living in these urban apartment buildings,
Mhm.
that demographic really cares about this,
Oh, yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so and this business is a transition from him just being a real estate developer to being a IP company with a consulting arm where
Mhm.
any number of developers around the world
Mhm.
can adopt this and become a frequency building, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So you can brand the hell out of that in your local market and differentiate yourself.
Mhm.
And then the retention piece is super easy. People like to stay where they feel good,
Right.
right?
Right.
And this is all research backed stuff about what makes people feel good where they are.
I love it.
So, his personal mission is we need more people that are optimized to give their best in society right now. That's
Mm,
his personal mission,
sure.
right? But
Mhm.
the business positioning is,
Mhm.
hey, there is this market of especially 30-year-olds that are upwardly mobile that care about this stuff, right? They don't care
Mhm.
as much about buying stuff in that age demographic, like
Mhm.
frankly our demographic did or does.
Yeah.
Ownership is not as big of a deal for them, but their
Right.
experiences matter. And so it's
Right.
tapping into that in a whole new way. And I feel like in any variety of markets all around the world,
Mhm.
there are these people who are established in what they're doing, but are getting these taps on the shoulders from, the universe, wherever you want to call it, from the
Mhm.
zeitgeist, saying like, there's something you're meant to contribute that's new, that takes everything you've done but repackages it to innovate in a way that
Mm.
people are really hungry for now.
I love it. Yeah, no, I think I've been through that a couple of times. I was a part-time professional musician for 15 years. And when I got out of the Air Force, I was called to start a recording studio that didn't treat musicians like I got treated as a recording studio
Yeah.
artist, right? Of course, the zeitgeist wasn't very clear about how little money those people have. So that was that was a quick pivot into media production for small to medium sized businesses, which is the second poorest demographic I could have picked. And the but it's crazy because as my craft as I got better at my craft as a marketer, I've been able to find these like little things. Like back in the late aughts, I merged what is called SEO, search engine optimization, and CRO, conversion rate optimization, and I put them
Mhm.
together and we called it digital engagement optimization, because we were having clients, we were ranking them on the top of Google, but they were like, but we're not getting any business from all this traffic you're giving us. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
and back then, CROs and SEOs were never in the same firm. You had to
Mhm.
have two different ones. I was like, let's put it together. 6 months later, get an award from the American Marketing Association. There, that's brilliant. I'm like, it's like Legos. You just put two blocks together, right? Like
Yeah.
to me, it was
But
like
it's
no brainer,
that's exactly it though. Do you see how obvious it was to you,
right?
but not to other people in the market?
Right. It's crazy
And
to
the
me. I'm
and the
like,
funny
no, no,
thing
there's
is,
no way. Like my team actually put me up for the award. And I'm like, there's no way they're gonna think that. They gave me Visionary Marketer of the Year for
yeah,
that one. I'm like, no, no, come on, guys. Like they're smarter people than me. There's no way. But yeah, you're right. They didn't get it.
it's actually not as much about smarts. You can have plenty of smarts, but not innovate with it,
Sure, true, true, true.
right?
Yes, yes. I agree with you there. I
I
agree.
mean, you do need the smarts, of course, but
I think you
so
need the
that
wisdom. I think innovation comes from wisdom, because I know a lot of people who've created really good ideas and have no idea how to make them come to fruition. But that's
yeah,
where those smart people come in, and you tell them, like, because they're not creative people, right?
right.
They're not as creative, I should say. And so you have those people. I don't know if you ever watched the Mythic Quest. It's a TV show on Apple.
Yeah, maybe one episode.
Okay. Well, yeah. So the main character is like main two characters are a visionary. He has an idea for the game, and then his number two is the programmer who can make anything happen on the
Yeah,
internet. Right.
yeah,
About two seasons in, she gets her chance to be the visionary, and she flops as a visionary. It's just not her thing,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so I
yeah,
think that what you're tapping into is that you resonate with visionaries and help them pull out this inspired thought
yeah.
that hasn't come to full like visibility, like it hasn't come into focus yet.
Well, it hasn't come into focus, and the other piece is the product market fit. What is this an answer to
Mhm.
in the market that you might not even realize is a question, a yearning, like when you
Yeah.
put those two things together, it was obvious to you.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when people are putting things together, they go, I don't really know how to sell this. I don't know what the
Mm.
conversational arc. I was
Yeah.
in the web conferencing industry at the beginning.
Right.
There were two companies, Placeware and WebEx.
Okay.
Placeware got sold to Microsoft, which eventually became Teams. WebEx got sold to Cisco. I
Okay.
was at Placeware. I was employee 134. I remember, right? I remember when our marketing was all about market creation. And that's
Mm,
really what visionaries and innovators need to do, is to move from competing in existing markets
right.
to creating their own markets. That is
Yes.
a key
Yes.
distinction. And when
100%.
they try to compete in existing markets with a visionary work, they flounder. It doesn't work. And they go, why is this not working? Well, you're not meant to compete. Uh,
Well, it's
you know,
also has to do with the noise that you're trying to break through. And if you're trying to create new words in an industry that already has its words established, you're not hitting it. Like, people
yeah,
aren't searching for it, they're not resonating with it because it's not what's been established with it. And so,
yeah,
like, what your friend did, or one of your clients did, is he's basically found the market that's open to a new phrase, we'll call it, right? A
that's it.
new thing. And
Yeah,
they're looking for, like you're saying, like health. Well, he was able to attach health and mindfulness and a couple other things that go along with that holistic living, right?
yeah,
And he's able to tap into that. And this is an industry that has a lot of blue ocean to it because it's still emerging, right? And he was able to create his word in a space where words are being accepted still.
yeah,
When what I think what you were just talking about is like when people try to innovate in what do you want to call it, a staple. Like, you try to go into real estate, like, let's just go talk about like regular, like, residential real estate. You try
yeah.
to be innovative in there? Absolutely not. The only thing you can innovate in that is, how can I get my deals to close faster? It's the only thing you can innovate.
Well, so I break up entrepreneurs into four different types of entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Uh, there are replicators and synthesizers on one side, and
Okay.
innovators and visionaries on the other side.
Gotcha.
Replicators take what exists and just replicate it,
Right.
right?
They're
So,
good with systems.
right. And so this is even, let's do something super simple like trades, right? I learned
Mhm.
to plumb, I apprentice as a plumber, and then I plumb,
Yeah.
right?
And you're
And
good at it.
frankly, I don't want an innovative plumber, right? I want a replicator there. Thank you very much, right?
Okay.
Uh, so it's, and
Everything
we
in code,
all,
please. Thank you.
right. And most of us all start as replicators, right?
Right.
From
That's how we learn.
there are synthesizers. These are people that take some of what's new and coming down the pike and bring it together in kind of bite-sized ways that the replicators can adopt.
Right.
And that kind of moves industries along bit by bit. So a lot of, say, the business books, marketing books that we might see in an airport bookstore are written by synthesizers, right?
I'm guilty.
And they're right. And it's, again, this is not a bad good thing.
No, no, yeah. No,
It's
I'm
just
guilty of it.
differentiation. And the
Yeah.
synthesizers really are part of what help the replicators keep growing in their craft.
Right.
Over here, we've got uh, innovators and visionaries.
Mhm.
Innovators, I believe, are largely attuned to the cultural zeitgeist, which means
Mhm.
emerging trends in a marketplace. They can go, oh, this data point plus this data point plus this data point plus my intuition says that we're going here,
Right.
right? And they
Mhm.
start to innovate in relationship to that.
Mhm.
Visionaries are responding to a term I use called spiritual zeitgeist, meaning the emerging consciousness that's bubbling up in a marketplace. What are
Mm.
people in a deep way asking for? What's being really underserved? What is a
Mhm.
yearning they have
Mhm.
that nobody else is talking about,
Right.
right? And those two groups, innovators and visionaries that are responding to the zeitgeist, their success comes in creating whole new markets that didn't exist
Right.
before they brought their work in.
Right.
And that work is very different work than just trying to compete in crowded markets, right?
Mhm.
It,
Mhm.
it, it now it takes a lot of gaining your foothold.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work of understanding what's the conversation I need to be having in the marketplace
Or
that
demand
taps
generation. You have
it.
to create demand because
That's
people don't
exactly
even
right.
know that they need it. And so
Yeah.
it's very hard. That's where visionaries get stuck, I think, is that they have this great idea. They think everybody should be buying it once they say it. And it's like you have to rewire people's brains. And unfortunately, the human
100%.
brain does not rewire quickly.
Here's what I find. Back to the web conferencing thing. When people are innovating,
Mm-hmm.
it's often in response to, yes, some existing yearning and desire in the market,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it's in response to something that's coming down the pike that nobody is seeing.
Right.
So when I was in the web conferencing industry, right, the beginning was gaining that foothold. It was all education-based marketing.
Mm.
What is this wild thing called web conferencing? Why would someone use it? Right? What problems does it solve? Golly gee, you don't even have to get on a plane for that 1 hour meeting across the country. And like, okay, it was gaining a foothold, but then two things happened that people didn't see coming. One, the dot-com bubble burst. This
Right.
is early 2000s.
Right.
And then 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And suddenly people didn't want to fly. And budgets
Mm-hmm.
were cut.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly that market got flooded.
Mm-hmm.
The adoption happened in about 12 months that it became ubiquitous,
Right.
right?
Right.
And shortly after that, we got sold to Microsoft.
Right.
And my options were worth something. uh, right? But that was something coming down the pike that nobody could have even foreseen.
Right.
And I find that over and over again in this really weird way. Like, how does this happen? I don't actually know.
Mm-hmm.
That these taps on the shoulders that people get to innovate are in response, yes, to existing needs in a market, but they're also in response to what might be right around the bend that nobody has seen yet, including the person creating the innovative thing.